Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and tomorrow we're going to begin the re-release of Adaman and Leafeon, the first Hisuian Master Sync pair. This character is still really good, still one of, in my opinion, the best characters in the game. I think this guy just pretty much meets the standard, obviously above the standard for the most part, in high tier play in pretty much any game mode. Ultimate battles, he's got a lot he can face. His rebuff alone is able to counter. Obviously, he's the hard counter for Argenta, made for whatever. Counters Thornton pretty well. He's got Sun that counters out a few different stages as well. Obviously, most notably like Nita's friggin' Sand, and again Argenta, who he's built for, and overall high damage output. I mean, that's going to be good pretty much anywhere, right? He's great for ranking game modes, high score event damage challenge, and legendary gauntlet. He's great in all of those modes for varying reasons. Like, one of the best nukes, good for single target grass stages in the damage challenge or whatever. He's good in legendary gauntlet due to his great healing, solid natural bulk. And again, like, weather setting is also pretty helpful there. He's got a ton of good things in that game mode as well. And high score event, I mean, one big thing, of course, back when grass was still around as a type, was that he would be able to be pretty much powered up without having to buff the enemies. Like, not having grassy terrain and relying upon grassy rebuff and sun is something really, really useful for him as a good enhancement that doesn't directly enhance the enemies like, you know, so many high score events do. And again, having a good nuke on top of his healing and natural bulk, defensive bulk with his master passive, all that stuff, really, really good. This character's still super strong, and we're going to take a look at that again today, and the EX roll he obtained. So he got an EX roll of all time, right? Sprint. But other than that, he's still got all of his great capabilities. So I guess we'll go ahead and look at his stats first. Level 140 without any investment. He's got 582 health, 448 attack, 209 defense, 190 special defense, 314 speed. These stats are nothing super crazy, but they are pretty good. Like, the attack's good. The HP is pretty mediocre, if not outright bad. Like Berg levels of HP. Defenses are fine for an uninvested character, and 314 speed is fine because he doesn't care for gauge anyway, which we'll go into in a bit. But of course, with, you know, the 6-star axe level 150, he gets over 700 health, which is good. Over 500 attack, which is really good. 259 defense, 240 special defense, which is also good for a character that is not like a support or like meant to be taking a tanking role in most content. And 370 speed is pretty solid as well. Quite good. Again, he doesn't really need speed. He did gain sprint, of course, which ups his attack, his offensive stats mostly, and his speed. Speed doesn't matter. Plus 20 attack. Literally the biggest buff he would gain from this role. Why he did not gain literally any of field support or strike, I got no idea. Why he got sprint? Literally just because he's of his character of always, you know, no time to waste and always being in a rush in a sense, right? Or wanting to get things done. Sprint, you know, feels that, but doesn't mean it was the optimal choice. Anyway, not really the point. What is Adaman's kit? 1 out of 5 Adaman's kit is honestly still pretty solid. He's got Leaf Blade, which is a whatever damaging option, 96 power, 100 accuracy, crits land more easily. It doesn't really matter too much. It's passive. It's fine. Synthesis. This is good healing. Healing is pretty nice for himself. Heals his HP. Enough said. Also consider that it heals HP by 60% in Sun, which he sets, which we'll go into again in a bit. He's got Razor Sharp, Razor Leaf, which is activated whenever he uses any move once and is deactivated when used. 2 gauge, 2 uses, 180 power, hits all enemies, crits land more easily, lowers target's defense by 1, lowers target grass rebuff by 1, and lowers enemy defense again by 1 when weather is sunny. So effectively he's getting -2 defense on the enemy and -1 grass rebuff, and this is AoE. So he's serving already as very good enhancement for grass types because of the grass rebuff, and also a direct damage enhancement for himself and allies via the defense debuff. That's obviously pretty solid. And then at no time like the present, back to the sprint EX roll, right? Raises attack by 6, defense by 4, and reduces sync countdown by 1 in Sun. So the attack buff obviously is good. He's got himself those massive attack buffs. That's obviously really good. Plus 4 defense. That's honestly pretty good for his tanking because he is a decent physically defensive character. Again, his defensive stat is not horrible. I ain't gonna say he's tanking attacks or whatever, but like in a game mode like the Legendary Gauntlet where they appreciate characters with good all-around stats, having that good defensive bulk plus the defensive buffs, like and also the master passive that he does have, is going to be good for helping out with tanking. Again, the healing as well off of synthesis, meaning his actual bulk capability is pretty good. Or pretty good in a game mode where, you know, you're trying to, I guess, like, you know, not utilize the support or for whatever reason, again, consider. And also, again, having decent bulk naturally prevents, like, maybe making your support use a potion on him or something like that. And again, having synthesis, you know, reinforces that ideology further, which is great. In terms of innate sync nuke, he's got Haymaker. More of his attack is raised greater the power of the attack. He's got plus 6 attack on the terrain move. Really fucking good. Duh. That's awesome, so we appreciate that. He's got Sinnoh Pride, his master passive. Raises ally physical attack damage by 20%, which is just physical attack moves, obviously not sync moves. Reduces physical damage by 25%. The more allies with the Sinnoh theme, more they are, of course, up to a 50% power buff and 31% damage reduction against for 4 physical attacks and against physical attacks. So, definitely good. Again, 30% damage reduction that just combined. That makes his physical defensive utility look even better, obviously, and his physical offense look good too. It helps out his Leaf Blade, which is not a very high powered move naturally, so it's pretty appreciative to have a buff that is just helping that passively, which is good. Because his Leaf Blade does actually hit pretty hard, despite the fact that, again, it's Leaf Blade. It's barely 100 power, even with like full investment. It actually isn't 100 power full investment. It's 80 power. 1 out of 5 80 power, Razor Leaf 150 power. So, that's fun. Anyway, time flows over Hisui, makes the weather sunny the first time the user enters a battle each battle, makes weather sunny after using the user's sync move, powers up the user's moves when the weather is sunny. I believe this is a 50% power buff for his moves. That helps out, again, his Leaf Blade. A 50% multiplier for that is nice, effectively for free. Setting weather on sun and on setting sun on entry as well as on his sync move, really, really good as well. Gives you infinite on-demand sun. Well, not on demand, most kind of on demand, I guess, if you want to try and like delay your sync move or whatever. Only problem is that it's not extended. This is fixed in his grid, but if you can find a way to make this work at 1 out of 5 without having like sun extended or whatever, then, you know, more power to you, because Adaman is pretty effective at the job. Clutch critical, guaranteed crits. Very nice. Guaranteed crits on the moves, sync moves, and max moves. That's why, that's a good reason why he doesn't need crit, because he's got guaranteed crits. And then critical free B9, free moves next when landing a crit. This is mitigated by very, very few stages. Regirock is obviously, in my opinion, the most notable one, because freaking crit shield. I don't really think there's many other relevant enemies that set some sort of crit protection for him. So he's effectively got free moves next in 95% of content he's gonna face. And the only, I guess the only like inaccuracy to that would be if he misses, right? Which he can if the enemies buff their evasion, so that's just something to consider. Only problem with Adaman, obviously his nuke's not that great. I mean, 500 attack's good, and innate Haymaker is nice, but, you know, it's still lacking in multipliers. He does have pretty decent DPS, being able to debuff defense, apply grass rebuff, and getting a 50% multiplier on his moves for free, just for having sun up. That's nice. And not extending sun. That could definitely be a detriment in some game modes, right? Where, of course, you are going to want that extended sun to be able to just maintain it for the whole team, for himself. He wants sun up pretty much at all times, so that could be a problem if you need that extended sun for the next sync cycle. But if you don't need it, then that's fine. I think the only real problem with it is that if you're trying to use a sync move other than Adaman's, then obviously maybe they want sun. Maybe it's like Signature Erica, who's got like Solar Flare and all those, but that's for one fixed by the fact that she's got Sunny Day. But, you know, any other character that might have Solar Flare but does not have like on-demand sun could be bad for, which again, he's buffing a lot of other grass types, and a decent amount of grass types have those type of multipliers, so just something to consider there. But if you are using Adaman's sync move, it's not too big of a deal because his sync effect is Haymaker. He doesn't really care. But one bad thing is that it might screw up a quad Q because sun might go out right on the sync move, and that'll of course allow enemies to proc moves most of the times, and I could see that potentially being an issue. If you've ever played, you know what I mean. If you ever played the game, Then enemies queue up moves a lot of times whenever a like field effect goes out right before your sync move is used, and that screws up quad queuing or whatever it may be, right? So that could be a bad effect. But those are pretty trivial problems when even thinking about this character, because again, he's got good enhancement. Sun, grass rebuff, defense debuffs, those are pretty good. And again, good multipliers for his moves. But again, that does get better with levels of investment here. 2 out of 5, he gets training with shielding strikes, maxing out his defense debuffs, though for the most part, that's going to end up just being mitigated by the fact you can just pick up training with NPR, which gives him his defense debuffs. Again, up to another +4, so just probably roll for that. Leaf Blade Brawn gain 2, 30% chance for physical moves next when using Leaf Blade. This is going to be able to enhance its damage even further. That is pretty helpful, again, for a character that only has Leaf Blade as a damaging option. That's nice. Same thing with Insult to Injury, a 30% DPS multiplier. These are some good, really, really strong 2 out of 5 tiles, for sure. Already giving him multipliers to his damage, so he can actually be better at dealing damage other than just enhancing the team. He's got Solar Shield and Speeding Sun. Is Solar Shield 1 out of 5? No, Solar Shield is 2 out of 5. Speeding Sun 2 doesn't really matter too much for him because of he's, again, free moves next, but if your team is pretty slow, then that can be helpful, I guess. Solar Shield preventing these status conditions, that's helpful. Toxic, Thunder Wave, any form of paralysis, poison, freeze, burn, whatever. Preventing that is obviously going to be really good for him. Just takes out a lot of RNG or potential headache. Critical Confusion, or I guess Crit Confusion, Critic Confuse. That. Critic Confuse 9, neat name. Leaving the target confused when landing a crit. If that confusion's helpful to you, then there you go. Guaranteed confusion. That doesn't need much else to be said. Can deactivate some enemy multipliers. Could make it so the enemy might not be able to hit you. Stuff like that. And Sunscreen 2, reducing damage received by 20% on attack move when weather is sunny. I actually pick this up sometimes, unironically, just because I love that damage reduction. This is very good for some, in my opinion, some Gauntlet solos, or even duos, whatever. It helped me out against Moltres, man. I love this style. I really do. And then Synthesis Master Healer, which it's healing him up to probably like 80-90% health because he's already got 60% healing when healing in Sun, and then an extra healing on top of that. He's got basically 2 friggin' huge determinations, except of course you actually have to use them before you friggin' faint, so just keep that in mind, but still. He's got really, really good healing. So 2 out of 5 tiles are honestly pretty decent, all things considered. He's got a little bit of like status condition immunity and whatnot, and slightly better healing, gimmick check with like confusion and whatnot, or potentially having the enemy hit themselves. It can help out with defensive utility as well. Brawn gain and insult to injury for actual damage buffs to his moves like Leaf Blade and the Buddy move for the 2 instances you can use it. And train with NPR for like sync countdown or buffing his defenses to max, or maybe buffing his attack back in case it gets debuffed, stuff like that. These are pretty solid tiles for a 2 out of 5 character released in the modern day. Even back in 2023, having this good of fair tiles was near unheard of in that time. Anyway, 3 out of 5 gets Critical Strike 2, Enfeeble 2, Sync Damage Guard, Haymaker, Synthesis Physical moves up next, 9, Synthesis NPR, Sync Nodes, Solar Flare 5, and Dread Alert 5, and a few other things like HP plus 30, I guess. Sure. Sync Damage Guard, this could be helpful for taking a high-powered attack. I'm pretty sure I did give this to my Adaman whenever I did my Moltres duo with Flincher, so this could really end up being clutch and taking attacks, though honestly, Adaman taking damage isn't really the one you have to worry about a lot of the times in that solo or duo, but not really the point. Either way, love it. We love ourselves that Sync Damage Guard. He's got Haymaker as well. This is actually increasing his sync damage. Same thing with Solar Flare 5. He's got 250% in sync nuke multipliers now. This makes him one of the best grass nukers in the game. That's why he's good in the damage challenge, of course, because of that Haymaker, or that really double Haymaker plus the Solar Flare. He's got, again, one of the best grass nukes in the game. Makes him good for single target grass. Would have been great for multi-target grass if he got Strike, but hey, whatever. He got Sprint, and also, again, having Sprint is pretty nice for the damage challenge as well. Sync Countdown is like a blessing in that game mode, so that's nice. That can be appreciated. Drought Alert 5, this extends the sun. You never have to worry about it effectively going out, because you're most likely going to be using Adaman State Move a lot of the time anyway, as your main nuker, so that's good. Guaranteed 50% extra duration of sun. Appreciate it. Synthesis NPR, extra healing. This is really good in like the Legendary Gauntlet. It could be good in other game modes, but this is really, really good in that game mode, especially because he's, a one-man army a lot of times in that game mode, so being able to heal up as much as you can Really, really strong. Really strong. Synthesis physical moves up next 2, or yeah, whatever it says. Yeah, physical moves up next 2, 9. Mighty physical boost 9, whatever it's called. Increasing physical moves next by 2 when the move is successful. Plus 2 physical moves next. Makes the Leaf Blade do more damage. Could be helpful. I don't think it's that valuable of a tile to pick up, especially over a lot of other things he picks up naturally, but it is an option. It's definitely something to pick up. He's got 2 sync tiles, again, helping out with sync damage, and then Enfeeble 2 and Critical Strike 2. Enfeeble 2 is pretty nice if you want to max out those defense debuffs and have him be completely self-sufficient in the role. Again, he can get -6 with the 2 here and the 4 on the usages of his Buddy move. So he'll be able to fully debuff enemy defense pretty effectively. And then he's also got Critical Strike 2, an extra multiplier for his damage and sync moves, that 20% buff. Could be good for the extra damage on Leaf Blade, could be good for the extra damage on a sync move, all of that. They're likely not going to be able to pick it up because, I mean, I've pretty much studied Adaman grids. You really can't pick it up for the most part, even if you try to. Like, for the most part, you're going to be picking up these tiles, and, well, you're out of energy. You can take out Drought Alert 5, I guess, if you really think you can afford it, but that's really the only way you're actually going to be able to reach this tile, which is not really worth it. It's just worth picking up Drought Alert 5, foregoing all of this, and just living with, you know, whatever other tile. You can invest +2 energy and get like a Leaf Blade Brawn gain. You could invest some extra energy and get the Synthesis NPR. There's a lot of other good solid tiles that can be picked up than trying to actually forego the Sun Extension to pick up like Critical Strike or something like that. It really just depends on you though. I have my Adaman personally invested with 5 out of 5 plus 10 energy, and if I'm trying to go for like max damage enhancement, I tend to run something like this. Enfeeble 2 for the defense debuffs is pretty nice. Otherwise, it really just depends on like the fight. I might end up picking like Sync Damage Guard. Trainer of NPR I usually pick up anyway because of the defense buffs. At least in Legendary Gauntlet-esque game modes where like, or something like that, that I think it could be helpful. And usually I think I just usually get more buff out of it anyway. But you could also pick up Leaf Blade if you want to not have to invest as much energy. And then maybe something like that. I don't know. I honestly, it really just depends on the fight and on how I want to run my Adaman. Sometimes I like to run Sunscreen just because that damage reduction is nice. Like if you want to run Adaman with like Synthesis plus like maybe Synthesis Master Healer, which he really doesn't need. Honestly, he really does not need Synthesis Master Healer just because of how much he can already heal. At least I think so. Could be wrong, of course. But if you want to run it, you can. I like the Sunscreen though for the damage reduction, NPR and Master Healer for the extra healing, obviously. Sync Damage Guard could be helpful, but most of the time probably just run Trainer with NPR and you're good to go on that front, and then honestly just run something like this. I think it's fair enough. This is my Adaman personally just because mine's 10 out of 10, but you could also just run like that, I guess. Yeah, +6 energy. You can run something like that if you want the Drought Alert, whatever. Again, it really depends on the fight, like what you're facing, because like anything that has like paralysis or something early on in the fight or toxic or whatever, and you can't rely on dodging it, you can see use out of that Solar Shield or whatever. And if you have a fight that hits really hard, the healing's going to be good. If you have a fight that you want to just kind of nuke past and destroy, maybe picking up like all the nuking multipliers could be good there as well. And again, Adaman's good in pretty much all content. He's good in the Legendary Gauntlet because of his good healing, his good damage potential, and overall just good sustainability on top of damage is really good, with the gauge as well. Defensive debuffs are pretty strong for just enhancing damage further anyway as well. Other than that, the high score event, again, Grass is already passed, but being a character that can enhance his allies without directly buffing the enemy in the form of Grassy Terrain is really strong, and not only that, consider, again, he's got himself pretty good sustain for himself in the team with the Master Passive, and also his own healing is pretty helpful too, and again, good damage, a really good damaging character. Great in the high score event, he's like one of the best Grass nukers, he's now got the Sprint EX roll for the Sync Acceleration, one of the highest attack stats, whatever. He's going to be hitting hard, doing that roll, and putting in Sync Countdown as well. Voila. Obviously. And then Ultimate Battles. Again, he's built for Argenta. He gimmick checks Thornton with the setting of Rebuff and having good mixed partners in the form of like Mix Red or whatever. Like one of like a grass type characters that you can run with Adaman. Honestly, the new Leafeon's not bad. Greta's honestly not bad with her enhancement under Grassy Terrain and Sleep Spam and whatever. They're decent enough partners. Mix Red, again, his set of Grassy Terrain plus the fact he's a special attacker gives you decent synergy from hitting beyond both offensive types and stuff like that. So that is good. Other than that, for other special attackers, I think Lyra's Sync move is special. That's good if you want to run her as a as your main nuker instead of Adaman. It's honestly not a bad idea, again, considering they enhance each other with Grassy Terrain and Grass Rebuff, again, for each other. Singing Suit Leaf mostly acts as a supportive character now, but she's also got a pretty good nuke and some extra power and extra layer of Grass Rebuff, especially with her Super Awakening, so there's tons of good options to run with Adaman for just good grass setups. That's really, really appreciated of the character, being able to be as versatile on teams as he is, and not really being too restricted to one. But of course, some of his better partners would be like Mixed Red, Singing Suit Acerola, characters who can set Grassy Terrain, or provide good damage, or provide good damage enhancement to him, or good damage enhancement to the team in general, whatever it is. There's tons and tons of good options. And he's again, one of the best grass types in the game, one of the best characters, in my opinion, in the game. Hello, zoom in. So yeah, that's my thoughts about Adaman and Leafeon on their rerun. Definitely a character that's still super worth going for. And again, any content. I think the fact that Adaman is as good as he is in pretty much, again, all forms of content, ranked content or ultimate battles or whatever, is a good showing of how valuable he can be to pick up, or how valuable he'll be for probably years to come. Honestly, I don't. Like, we may end up getting a better grass nuker or whatever, but that's still not really going to take away the fact that Adaman's going to be a really, really strong character for some teams, where he'd be in like a role of just setting grass rebuff, so his other allies can do better damage, or be the main star of the show or whatever, or if he's the central focus with his main really, really good nuking ability and solid damage potential under Leaf Blade. If he's the star of the show or just like on the sideline, he's going to be good for fulfilling that role, and he's going to be good for a while. No doubt about that, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's my thoughts about Adaman and Leafeon. Definitely pick them up if you haven't. Probably some of the most valuable characters, if not the most valuable characters to pick up like this month, really. So yeah, I'll see you later. Hope you all enjoyed. Good luck on your summons. Good luck on your skipping. Happy EV Day. And yeah, peace.